Yo, what's up, guys? It's Talon. So today we hit Sovereign 100 marks, and I'm going to be talking to you guys about some of the main things that allowed me to do that and go over kind of my seasonal history and stuff like that as well, and just really kind of reiterating some of the main points that you guys need to understand if you want to climb in Wild Rift as well. So we have about a month left still in the season here. You can see my current stats here with a 55.6% win rate. Little over 500 games is how many it took, which is obviously a lot of games, but still pretty solid and right about in line with what I normally do. If you look here at my seasonal graph, got there basically slightly earlier than I did last season. And this really was my goal, was to get Sovereign before my winter break started, really, and my winter break starts in a week. So ideally now we're going to try to aim for rank 1 as best as we possibly can. Going on to the champion pool here, you can see Renekton and Varus have really been the key champs for me climbing so far this season. I've won a lot on them. I've been doing some, pretty good on Jace, Vi, Thresh, and some other champs as well that we've been playing. You guys remember that video about me talking about playing some other champions as well and kind of trying those out in specific counter picks, and we've been doing that and been getting some good wins and on some different champions as well, and kind of trying out different champions overall. But basically that's it for the champion pool and kind of the stats and everything like that. And now let's get into some of the main things that allowed me to climb. All right, so it's important to mention that I was playing autofill for pretty much this entire climb. Occasionally, if I was duo with someone and I wanted to play a specific role, I would maybe queue up for a specific role, but basically mostly autofill here. Playing duo queue for a majority of my games. I played a decent amount of solo queue, and there was about 1 or 2 days that I played 5Q because they had that 5Q event. But basically, mostly duo queue with a decent amount of solo queue as well. And the first main thing is something that I talked about in a recent video that really allowed me to climb, and that was a focus on really trying to get better at coming back in games. I would say that was the biggest jump in my wins that compared to last season was my ability to play from behind. I've been doing a much better job of playing when the game looks bad early and having a better mental and really actually trying to come back in these games. So I've had plenty of games where all my lanes, maybe even myself included, are falling behind and losing, and I've been doing a really good job of trading on the opposite side of the map, especially on that second dragon timer. When the second dragon was spawning, I would oftentimes, if we were behind, use that as a way to get a lot of gold on the opposite side of the map and use that dragon as a distraction. I was really focused on efficiency and farming and hitting specific item spikes as well to make sure that I'd be able to fight on those specific spikes. So that was another really big thing, was a larger kind of attention put onto itemization with my gameplay. So I would be much more focused on hitting certain item breakpoints. So for example, I was really focused on making sure that I could hit 2 items on pretty much every champion that I played by the second dragon at least, and 3 items at least by the third dragon. And if I was playing a jungler, oftentimes wanting to hit 4 items by the third dragon, because junglers have a bit more access to gold. And that would also, when I was behind, really focus on finding fights based on items. So for example, I can remember a specific game where we were behind and the second dragon was spawning, but we were a pretty good early game comp, and I just hit my second item, another one of my teammates hit a second item, and someone else I think got a second item or got something like that. So the enemy were pretty much all like 2.5 items, and we were all 2 items. So fighting them on that point was actually pretty good for us because we were already pretty good early game champions and we just hit a full item, whereas they were only on 2.5, right? Whereas say that we were fighting them and we were 2.5 and they were 3, they would be way stronger. So finding those sort of item spike and those times to fight as well have also been something that I didn't previously focus on that really allowed me to climb a lot more efficiently this season as well. And then now that I talked about some of the things that I improved on this season, I want to talk about some of the key things that I do every season that I've been doing for a while that have really helped me climb, and I think you guys really need to focus on. So one of the first things is that I turn on party chat so I don't have to read what my teammates say to me. Some people, they do worry that maybe they're not going to, see what their teammates are saying, or they're not going to be able to coordinate with them. But the reality is, especially in the lower elos, and trust me, I've played on Smurfs, they're just going to flame you, and you're not really going to get any value from it. You're going to get annoyed by it. You're going to be distracted. You're going to waste time. Just mute the chat. Don't listen to what other people say. It's pretty useless. And then the single most important gameplay thing that pretty much everyone could do better is a focus on better efficiency and better farming. This is something that I definitely preach very frequently with people, and that is one of the main reasons that I can climb really well, is because regardless of if the game goes well, the game goes poorly, whatever, I'm going to have a good amount of gold because I'm playing around the waves rather than playing for kills. I'm focusing on waves, focusing on turrets, and I'm being very focused on these types of things, making sure I get proper amounts of gold and thinking about the game more in terms of the math of it, rather than making these risky, unnecessary fights that don't really make a lot of sense. And so that is definitely one of the key things that has allowed me to climb as well in this season. Another major thing for climbing is just awareness of objectives as well. It's a pretty simple thing, but most people don't properly set up before objectives are spawning. So you need to really be aware of when objectives are going to spawn in roughly 30 seconds to a minute before the objective. You need to do things like push your lane. You need to make sure you recall if you need health, if you need mana, if you need to buy your items. If you are like 100 or 200 gold from an item, you need to make sure that you greed for one wave really quickly to get that item. If you're split pushing and you're weak and you just want to draw someone to you, you need to make sure that you're not showing yourself on the map until about 25-ish seconds before the objective, something along those lines, 15 to 30 seconds. And then show yourself then, and really go super far to really try to drag someone to you. These different types of things, just a general awareness of objectives is the main thing that people really need to understand, because the game is really based around objectives. And then along those lines, turrets are kind of like another objective that a lot of people don't pay enough attention to. So for example, when you're a jungler, or really anyone, and say you're deciding on which lane to go to next, or which lane to gank, or what to do when the objective is not up, oftentimes after having the lanes pushed, you want to find the lane that has a turret up that's the easiest to kill. So for example, the outer turrets of the top and the bottom lane are usually easier to kill than the mid lane. So unless you have a herald or something, you're going to want to go try to play around those turrets and kill those turrets usually. Just these types of things, understanding objectives, playing around these different types of things are really going to allow you to be able to win just a lot more games overall. And then another thing for climbing is kind of the mindset you approach it with. So we're all going to get tilted in games and blame our teammates or get mad sometimes. And if you watch my stream, you'll see that I frequently will blame my teammates because, the reality is sometimes your teammates are going to make mistakes just like you might sometimes. And it's fine to get kind of annoyed or angry when your teammates make mistakes, but the issue is more so when you start to blame that on the reason that you're stuck in your elo, because then it leads you to not be able to reflect and improve afterwards. Again, during the game, maybe you're going to get tilted or angry or whatever. That's not the end of the world. But if you refuse to kind of learn from your mistakes later on or review your games or other things like that, you're probably going to struggle a lot when it comes to climbing. So I really recommend just trying to have a mindset where you're focusing a lot more on trying to find what you did wrong as much as you can when you're not tilted, focusing on that. And also just kind of focus more on the process of improving rather than necessarily the specific rank that you're getting. Like even here, my biggest time where I was having a struggle this season was when I was getting really obsessed over the, whether I was losing or winning. I had a streak for about a week where I didn't climb at all. And I was like, oh, there's no way I'm ever going to reach rank 1. I'm not going to be able to even have a chance at it. And then when I kind of stopped focusing on that, I started focusing on enjoying the game, playing to have fun, playing some champs I enjoy. Even if I'm making some mistakes, it was a lot more enjoyable, and I ended up being able to climb a lot more. And then another thing is actually that you guys really, I know a lot of people will be like, oh, you're a streamer, it's really easy for you to find teammates, and it's easier for me to find a duo than, the average person. But I really recommend finding a duo. Now, I get that people want to feel like they deserve it, and they don't want to get boosted or whatever. But just add people you find in your games to just play duo with. Like, if you play with someone and they do well in a game, you can pretty easily just, tell them, go turn on the chat, say, GG, you played well, you want to, add me after this game or whatever. And a lot of times you're going to add them, and all you really need to do is find 1 or 2 really, really good players that you consistently can play with. And then it's just going to make climbing a lot more enjoyable, a lot more fun. Trust me, Wild Rift's not a serious enough game where you need to prove that you can climb solo queue. If you want to enjoy the game, just, try playing with someone, have fun with that, and it's still going to be, deserving if you do end up climbing, playing duo queues. So I really do recommend trying to play duo queue if you can find someone. I mean, again, a lot of the tips I give you guys still apply to solo queue and still can be useful there, but there's no reason to torture yourself if you don't, really have to. But as a whole, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, just talking about how we got Sovereign, some of the main things that we did to get that. So I hope it was maybe a little bit valuable for you guys. Again, we're going to be trying our best to get rank 1. We'll be streaming every day pretty much. You'll be seeing me, grinding for that. As always, I have memberships on my YouTube channel for $5 a month, and I also do coaching for $15 a month. So just DM me on Discord, Talon1169, or through the link in the description if you're interested in coaching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.